let's jump into this, though, man. We got to talk about the Detroit Tigers. That's something that people should definitely want to look at. 1.5 back of the Twins. These detractors, they instantly go, it's really like 2.5 back. And, okay, you're technically right because the Twins own the tiebreaker. But for right now, I'm going to focus on the fact that the Detroit Tigers have been one of the absolutely best teams in all of baseball. I think the best team since, August 10th, August 11th. And after a 7-6 win, they sit just a 1.5 back of the Twins. And they look like a team that has everything they need, the recipe, to get it done.
Hey, they're the hottest team in baseball, and the Twins, conversely, are absolutely tail spinning right now. And we would like to continue to see them tail spin because you saw them last night. They blew the game against Cleveland while the Tigers stole one from Kansas City. And that was one of those games, as often has been the case with the Tigers' great stretch of play lately. You got to start with some of the young guys. After the Tigers went down 4-0 and then 5-1, they were able to get back into it, and Colt Keith hit a big home run. He'd been on a bit of a power outage lately, but you know what? He hit a big home run to cut the lead to 1. But the 6th inning, and I want to get your take on this, Matt Broder, because you've been more consistent with this than old Flannel Sam has.
and real quick, Greg B29, he has a message for you too. Broder, the bunt scored Tigers a win.
Yes, and then Mike G said, does Feldman sell a Corvette in the color flannel knees white? I don't think you can get a paint color that bright.
Probably not.
You know?
I mean, if you want, I suppose you can ask, but you know what? I don't know why you'd want to do that.
Talk about a partnership brewing.
But Broder,
the 6th.
We were talking pre-show, and especially in that 6th inning, A.J. Hinch had himself an evening.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I loved it, and I would have hated it if it didn't work. And I think some people might feel similar, but Trey Sweeney earlier in the game, this is in the 6th inning, Trey Sweeney had a big hit earlier in the game, and he's been hitting the ball pretty well, plays good defense, but in the 6th, not in the 9th, in the 6th, decided to go to Andy Ibanez against the lefty on the mound. What does Andy Ibanez do?
Hits lefties.
He hits lefties. What did Jason Benetti say? Death taxes, Andy Ibanez getting a hit off a left-handed pitcher. Cool. Move fast forward a couple batters. They are rallying a little bit. Kerry Carpenter's up to plate. One of your better hitters. Really, was it one of the highest OPSs in the American League?
Yeah.
He's up there. And they decide to pinch hit him. They decide to bring in a switch hitter, Wenceel Perez. Not only does Wenceel Perez get a huge hit.
Yeah.
This is 1st and 3rd. It's the top of the 6th inning. Royals are winning 6-4. He follows a lefty, Parker Meadows. What does this do? Actually, so Wenceel Perez, he gets the big hit. But to me, this is about A.J. Hinch's managerial strategy. Like, what he did, having Wenceel Perez there, it forced the Twins manager to make a decision. Not just to make a decision, do I go with the righty, make Wenceel Perez bat left? Do I stick with the lefty, make Perez bat right? With Vierling on deck, if I'm not mistaken, a righty. So, or was there a lefty coming up? Regardless, what it means is that Twins manager, he not only has to have a pitcher ready, he has to have a pitcher ready, a batter early, because you don't know what he's going to do with either Kerry Carpenter, who's a left-handed hitter, or a switch hitting Wenceel Perez. So there are so many factors that go into why that move, A, worked out, and B, even if it didn't work out, it puts pressure on the opposing team. Fortunately, we get a 2-run double out of Wenceel Perez, tie the game up at 6, and off they go, chasing that win for the rest of the game. So I know that was a little long-winded flannel and Kool-Aid, but that inning is almost the season in a nutshell. A.J. Hinch pulled the exact right strings there, and it led to a win.
Hey, listen, I never have an issue with listening to our credentialed Tigers.
My guy.
Reporter and writer talk baseball or Flannel Sam. Honestly, if I'm tuning in, I want to hear you guys talk baseball. I really do. And with A.J. Hinch, this has been a season where we've pontificated. We've wondered if the Tigers are to get to kind of the expectation of at least a wild card, we knew it was going to have to be A.J. Hinch finding the best way to work with a roster that didn't really have a lot of bats. They didn't have all of the talent of some of them other teams that are firmly in place. And he's done a good job. There's things that, no one's perfect. And you guys have been very, very consistent with saying, though, you know what, as he's continued to press the right buttons, you will continue to say, you know what, I got to give this man his due. So for AJ Hinch, especially as you're approaching this thing, it's comfortable to know when you're talking about the longevity of this thing. Is it just a flash in the pan? It's very nice to know that at this foundation, Harris and AJ Hinch have found a way to get something positive at this base. Now, if Chris Ilitch goes and says, you know what, y'all open up the pocketbook just a little bit. Now, when Harris is able to go out based on his assessment from this season and continue to add to this roster appropriately, I'm very confident in what this team is going to be, not just this year, not just next year, but long term as well, man. And I'm looking here at these averages and at the on-base percentages. Man, such a far departure from like just 2 months ago where you could look in this lineup and see people who were still under 200 batting average.
And the key is there's 11 games left, and they are in the wild card race, down 1.5 games.
Yeah, and I think, and I appreciate you, Kool-Aid, for saying I've been consistent. However, as everybody in the chat is going to remind me until the day I die, even if Woodward Sports, even if I'm no longer here, you once called for AJ Hinch to be fired. Yes, I did, and I was wrong. That isn't looking very smart right now. But this is, and I also have to give a little bit of an apology to AJ Hinch in this regard, because last night was a microcosm of maybe him knowing his guys a little bit more than I do. I gave AJ Hinch a ton of flack for the way that he handled Kerry Carpenter in the beginning of the season, because I thought he was more than just a platoon player, a guy that just killed righties and struggled against lefties. However, as the season has progressed, Kerry Carpenter has been a superstar against righties. He's been that Kerry Bonds, basically. He's you look at his numbers, you look at his slash lines, he's basically been Juan Soto against righties. But against lefties this season, he's 3 for 27. So what Kerry Carpenter has actually been, and I hate to admit this, is just a super duper star platoon player. And that is why in the 6th inning, when the Royals took out Seth Lugo and they brought in a left-handed reliever, that it was actually the right move and a justifiable move to take out Kerry Carpenter and put in a switch hitter in Wenzel Perez, because it's more likely than not, as much as I love Kerry Carpenter, that he wouldn't have come through in that situation. So, shout out to AJ Hinch. You know your guys better than me. I may have thought a little bit higher of Kerry Carpenter's potential against lefties, but it turns out he just can't hit him yet. Maybe he won't. Maybe he will at some point. But this season, he has not been able to hit lefties, and AJ Hinch knows that better than anybody.
How about this? One other player to shout out, Bo Brisky.
Yes.
Didn't pitch perfect, and hasn't been perfect all season. And his outing as a whole yesterday wasn't that perfect. But in the 8th inning, it came after a walk, but 0 outs, runners on first and second. The Tigers are up 7-6. This is where good teams make good plays, or they have championship actions. It's to be determined if they're going to get into the playoffs, but if they do, these are the things you need to do. He's got MJ Melendez up, strikes him out. Bo Brisky, out of nowhere, with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, painted, dotted, on the black, right in that outside corner. MJ Melendez, looked at the ball going by and was like, where did that come from? That's exactly what I thought of when I saw 1-0-0 on the screen. First step taken care of, strikeout. Again, runners on first and second, 1 out. Very next pitch, 96.5-mile-an-hour slider, ground out, double play. A really good double play, actually. Colt Keith to McKinstry, over to Torque for the pick. Out of the inning in 2 pitches. I know we spent a lot of time talking about same old Lions, which are buried. Same old Lions, that's all buried. Same old Tigers, they lose that game. They make this valiant effort to come back. They blow it in that situation. They blow it in the 9th on a base running blunder. Alex Cora not really giving Torkelson clear instructions coming around 3rd. That could have came back to bite them, but no. They still managed to finish the game out. Foley looked electric. Oh, and that last thing, that Bo Brisky, that double play ball in the 8th, what that also did, that kept Bobby Witt Jr. out of the batter's box for the rest of the game. He was on deck to finish the game. So it just kept it where there was no guarantee that he was coming up to the plate again. You don't want. I don't care if you have Emmanuel Clase, which all the Guardians thinks is the Cy Young Award winner. You don't want Bobby Witt Jr. in the batter's box, down 1 at the bottom of the 9th.
No, you don't. And shout out the Tigers bullpen. Shout out Bo Brisky, another one of the unsung heroes of this team, because not only did he get 2 of throw two of the biggest pitches of the season, getting that strikeout and inducing that double play. He's been a guy that has opened more games than any other Tigers pitcher when the Tigers have been relying on bullpen days due to starting pitching injuries and trading Jack Flaherty. So Bo Brisky, maybe not somebody that you think off the top of your head when it comes to guys on this Tigers team, but when you look back at the season, whether they make the playoffs or not, you're going to be like, Bo Brisky was an absolute unsung hero. And also, shout out Jason Foley as well, a guy who at times this season has looked dominant. At times this season looks like he shouldn't be closing games, and he wasn't for a while. But it wasn't just Bo Brisky inducing that strikeout in a double play. It was that 1-2-3 ninth inning from Foley, completely shutting down any hopes of a Royals comeback and completely shutting down the idea of Bobby Witt Jr. being up as the winning run with somebody on base. So shout out the Tigers bullpen as well.
And as a pitcher, brother, I got to ask you, when Brisky, that 100-mile-an-hour pitch, are you doing your own little pitcher celebration when you see that?
A little bit. I was doing the pitcher celebration because of where he pitched it, where he dotted that up. It was
you got to pay the respects, right?
The perfect pitch. And then you're like, wait, I don't remember seeing him throw 100 before. I meant to check before the show, but it was an exciting moment. I do, if you guys don't mind, we got to get to break, but I think we need like 4 or 5 more minutes just to talk about these next 11 games and really how this could all play out.
Perfect, because Chuckle Cheese said it best. If they make the playoffs, I have faith they can win a series, especially against the Yanks.
So many questions.
Yeah, they were hot while other teams were hot, but as they continue to make this pace, they're hot while other teams are falling off at the right time. So